Well, just a little prelude to the video to explain why I do these things. I've been doing these videos for years. I'm well past 250 now, heading towards the 300 mark, I suppose, but I haven't bothered to count them. And I've appeared on television, I've appeared on radio, I have podcasts and so on. But I realise I've got very, very limited influence in the world. And the only change that's going to come about in the UK, which it desperately needs, is to change our government, get rid of these bonkers people who don't understand anything really. And I've become almost to resent, actually, I have to be honest. So I know my limitations here. So you can imagine when I was asked to join the new party, whose principles I very much believe in, it's called Advance UK, I jumped at joining their college. Their college is simply a group of very talented people, a lot more talented than me, I suppose, who want to develop good policies for the country, right? And develop them for the British citizen above all. That incorporates all British citizens, of course. And to do that, whilst ignoring all the outside influences, in my case like the IPCC and all sorts of external bodies that try to control our country and tell us how to govern it. So in doing that, I'm actually helping develop policies for this party in a number of areas. And one of them, obviously, is net zero and what we're going to do. I can tell you now the policies to abandon that, but it hopefully goes much further than just the pure net zero. And so this is the way I can maybe have a chance of influencing the actual real world, which is the political world, where we can change this. Now, that's why I'm doing these videos now. But in doing that work, I've actually got a lot of pent-up work, which I haven't released to the public because I'm investigating various things behind the scenes as I'm preparing for the group I'm joining to deal with these issues and develop policies. And one of them is the ludicrous move towards heat pumps. So this video is about that. So let's get on with the video now. I've just needed, I thought, to explain why I do these things. And by the way, as normal, as with all my videos, no script here, I just tell it as it is. Well, this is my paper on the subject, and this is what this video is based on. You can go and check all the details in the paper for my claims that result in, if you do away with gas, if you've got gas now to your home and you replace your gas boiler, you're facing overall 2.5 times the price. Now, I know people are installing these at the taxpayer's expense. They're installing these with up to maybe, £15,000 a house sort of thing, all free as it were. It looks good, doesn't it? Long term you'll pay. But what I've costed in, because that tax goes onto your tax bill. So what I've costed here is the actual, without all the influences of what they're doing, the governments to fiddle all the prices, what are the real prices? And it would cost you 2.5 times to run. So it's much more expensive to run a heat pump for a domestic home heating than it is a gas boiler. Why? Well, 1 therm of gas, this is how we measure it in the UK, a therm of gas costs about 80 odd pence. At the moment, it's about 85 pence. So how many kilowatt hours to get out of that? Answer, 29.3. So it's actually under 3 pence. Well, about 3 pence, it hovers around there, a kilowatt hour from gas. You're paying something like 29 pence or 26 pence and so on for a kilowatt hour of electricity. So gas is extremely cheap. And one of the reasons is that gas comes down a pipeline to you and you do the conversion into heat. You haven't got all the industries doing it on the way to convert it to electricity, etc. So gas, when made from electricity, if you take away all the tariffs, is in the region of £60 a megawatt hour wholesale. And by the time it get to you, if it wasn't for the interference, if we'd been sensible, would maybe be 11 or 12 pence a kilowatt hour. So it pretty well doubles the price taking it via electricity. But we don't have that. We have 26 and 28 and all of that area of cost for electricity. So it's the intrinsic value of gas that's unbelievable. By far the best product to heat your home with. And what the government are doing are trying to put all sorts of levies on and do all sorts of things and distortions and making rules. They even want a total ban on gas boilers by 2035. And they're actually putting costs onto boilers. There's a paper that shows you, they're adding £100-300 when you buy a boiler in extra tax, as it were. So they're doing all sorts of things to distort the market, as the paper exposes. So what are the take-home points from this paper? So, the take-home lessons from the paper. The first one, of course, is it's 250% more expensive to use a heat pump than it is to stick with your gas boiler. That's straightforward. It explains it in the paper. And by the way, already there are green levies on your fuel, on your gas, that add 9% to it. So I've had to take that out for the calculations. You'll see that. And then the paper shows you that, looking at history, gas prices are actually less volatile than renewable prices by a long way. So it's much more stable. Yeah. And of course, the gas prices, they'll tell you, have doubled since the Ukraine crisis. There was a blip in the Ukraine crisis when they went very high, but it's actually 33% higher today than it was then, if you take away the government's levies and things that have been added, not double. So we get that out of the way. And also the renewable prices are increasing all the time. I mean, only last week, Ed Miliband had to knock 25% off the yield of what they were claiming for wind farms. 25%, bang, off. I don't have a gas boiler, by the way. I have an oil boiler. I'm in the country, and I wish I could have gas, but I can't have it. I have oil. And I just worked out today, I paid just 57 pence a litre for my last filler of oil, and that works out to just over 6 pence a kilowatt hour. Very similar, actually, to the gas. Very similar. But they're trying to do away with that as well, of course, if they can. So let's look now at the actual warm home policy of Ed Miliband and how much it's costing us. Well, the answer is it's going to cost the taxpayer, you, £13.2 billion over the next 5 years. And here is the schedule. So, quite now, soon, we're going into £3 billion a year just on these subsidies to help warm the homes. But funnily enough, it looks like the Chancellor of the Exchequer is eyeing up that £3 billion to grab. That's going to shatter Ed Miliband. The project's going to carry on. And the question is, for those taking out gas on existing homes and replacing them with heat pumps, does it actually make your home warmer? I think you'll find it just results in expensive cold. You see, the very, very simple problem with heat pumps is they produce water around about 40 degrees centigrade, whereas your radiators now are about 70 degrees centigrade, much hotter, and so they can warm up the house much easier, much quicker. And therefore, you need a lot more radiators to get the heat out. And how many more do you need? Well, it's almost the same as the cost. It's 250% more. So in other words, put it this way, for every 10 radiators you've got now, you need an additional 15. So if you've got 10 now, you're going to end up with 25. And there's nowhere to put them. You can't rip out all the cupboards and all the things to put them in. It's not possible. It's not viable. Now, heat pumps are better suited to underfloor heating, but that's okay for a new house, but you can't rip up both your bedroom floors, your upstairs floors and your downstairs floors. That would cost an absolute mint. It disrupts your entire house to put the system in. So if you're thinking of going to a heat pump and keeping anything like the same radiators, forget it. Just work on this. For every one radiator now, you need an additional 1.5. That's another way to look at it. So please understand that. And that is a problem. And it's a problem that doesn't seem to be understood. And so they're going to impose this on people by actually, in the end, banning the sale of gas boilers. Wow.